All right, this is the engine bay inspection of the 2013 Chevy Silverado 4x4. We would call this a K1500 back in the day. It does have it is 4x4, so that's what the K would stand for. So let's start with this right away. Reman alternator, that's a Reman part number there. Not a concern with that, has been replaced, whether at the dealer level or prior, maybe auction or previous owner. It is very fresh and new. I'd like to think it's less than 6 months old. There is some aftermarket wiring in here. I could not immediately tell you what the system controls. I did try to explore it a little bit. I just can't tell you what looks like there's a extra solenoid or a condenser or something up here that's managing some high voltage switching up here. I simply just can't tell you what it's for. It might be a bypass. I noticed this vehicle, it looks like it could have been towed at one time. We also have what external power source right up here, like for jumper cables. So that's pretty cool to see. It's a nice utility factor for rescue, helping family out in the wintertime. We'll get into why I think this is a wintertime vehicle. But so that's what I believe that this might be, at least do at least one, if not multiple things, is what you're seeing there. It might be like a large relay or contactor back there. So we've got a unplugged pigtail connector back here. I can't tell you immediately what I see that it leads into. There's like an after, kind of looks like a market relay, kind of looks like a zip tied right here. So there's a little bit of electrical modification going on here. However, it all looks professionally done. You can see all the conduit, all the routing. They use the correct colors. We're not seeing changing colors. The heat shrink is good. Nothing about this wiring is going to jump out and bother me. I give that the thumbs up. I do want to talk about the rust though. We've got a fair amount of surface rust that hasn't gone into the structural yet down here, but it is indicative of living its life as a winter vehicle. What you're going to start seeing is the rust will get down into these couplers right here. They might start squeaking on the suspension. Chevy did a good job in this area of sealing everything up in the engine bay really well. You can see the conduit over here is really well wrapped. So to its credit, even with the rust that's beginning to develop and start to get under the coating in here, I'm not seeing anything structural at this time. The power steering coolers and the trans cooler lines are both beginning to sweat. That's really common with age. What you'll see is the vulcanization, where the metal meets the rubber, begins to kind of give way. The rubber becomes porous and it leaks right on those crimp fittings right there. So we got one right there and we got one over there. I couldn't immediately tell you. It looks like this would be power steering, that would be trans. Again, very common thing to see on these older vehicles as they age. A battery was replaced about 6 years ago. I'd pay attention to that. The engine bay does look like it was cleaned. It doesn't look like it was greased and schmooed up too bad. I'm going to go ahead and give the engine bay a pass at this time. I'm not hearing any noise from the compressor, AC compressor, power steering. It sounds real quiet in here. I am going to add, on startup, there was a bit of what maybe it sounded like a lifter tick. Oil pressure is good. It stayed good on cold and hot. And the engine did not feel like it was down on power. The moment the engine warmed up, the tick went away. It might have been sitting. I keep an eye on that. These vehicles are known for dropping lifters and things like that on these displacement on demand active fuel management systems. I would look at getting that deleted as soon as possible if this vehicle is going to be owned for the next 100,000 miles. But it is quiet now. So again, it made a little bit of a tick noise on startup on one cylinder, but it has quieted down. So going to go ahead and give the engine bay a pass. Thank you. All right, this is the exterior inspection of the 2013 Silverado. We're going to walk the car. So right away, we'll just start in the center line right here, driver's side. We're looking for damage to the B-pillars, looking for collision damage. This is a body-on-frame vehicle. It's easy to repair panels. It's harder to hide frame damage. I will tell you right away, I've already walked this vehicle. I've explored underneath. I haven't seen anything that would immediately jump out to me as frame damage, but let's go ahead and walk the vehicle. So we're going to go down the B-pillar here, square, C-pillar here, square, following the canopy kind of attachment here, going around, looking for any signs of collision damage, any paint, any sort of paint mismatch, flake issues, a metallic flake coming around the back. Don't see any misfitment or misalignment with the tailgate. If it was like tweaked or the bed would have been kind of pushed up on this side, maybe the tailgate wouldn't close and latch as easily. It goes right up, it latches nice and smooth. So we're going to look at the left side square, right side square, no deviations here in the rear bumper, like it had been pushed in or tweaked. Nothing right there is immediately jumping out and bothering me. There's a little bit of cosmetic damage, kind of all over the vehicle. You see a little bit of cosmetic damage, a little bit right here, a little bit right in there. So nothing very major in that regard. We're gonna keep walking the vehicle here. Likewise, looking for more any sort of collision damage, any paint marks or mismatching and things like that. There's not really a lot of paneling out here. You know, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's kind of it. So we're gonna keep going. C pillar, square, B pillar, square, and we're gonna follow the front quarter panel down, square. Yes, so we would see the most deviations if there would have been a push or crush in the front end along these panels right here, these quarter panels. We're gonna look at that, look for hood alignment, and we're gonna look at our lamps. We have fogged lamps. So now we've got, this lamp is pretty clear. This lamp is a little fogged. Now what could that tell us? Has this vehicle been in a collision, or has it been, is it sunlight? Like for instance, the vehicle is parked over here facing the sun and the sun set over there and never got this lamp. Well, I could say yes, but let's take a look at this little damage right here. Now, if this was a scrape or kind of a smack, a fender bender, this could have come up into this lamp, smacked and broke that fragile plastic on that lamp. We see a little bit of a kind of a scrape or a mar right here, kind of going back this way. Maybe this lamp was damaged and replaced with a used one. Maybe it was polished up during a repair. So either or, you know, that lamp could have been replaced and then damaged later, or this lamp, they've been stock and then this one is fogged up. But I'm not seeing anything that really got up into the frame or in the structure. So there's nothing on that side immediately bothering me. I do see a little bit more of a gap right here than I see over here, but it's very minor, and that could just be QC GM fitment as well. So if there was collision damage documented on this side of the vehicle, I'm not seeing it into the structure. So no concerns with the exterior at this time. Exterior gets a pass, thank you. All right, this is the undercarriage inspection of the 2013 Chevy Silverado. So I'm sorry if you can't see it too well on the camera. I will tell you right away, there's a significant, let me phrase it this way, significant but not severe. So there's a significant amount of rust that's on the frame of this vehicle and into some of the structure in a sense of coatings, getting through the coating from the vehicle from factory. I've seen some rust on the sway bar here, walking the frame, there's rust on that. But interestingly, the transmission pan is not rusted at all. It might be aluminum, but it's not rusted at all. I'm not documenting any leaks up here in the four-wheel drive system. The transfer case is dry, the transmission is dry, the engine is dry. That's impressive for almost a 15-year-old Chevy. They don't typically come that way. So we're gonna walk back the vehicle. Same deal here, you can kind of see that in the light a little bit better. We're looking for missing paneling, we're looking for damage, drips, scrapes, things like that, crushed in componentry, not seeing that. See, again, you can see that it's kind of all through the coating, but it's not into the structure. So it's, again, significant, but I would not mark as severe at this point in time. So we're gonna take a look at the back here. I will say we're seeing some rust go up into those struts. I don't like seeing that because eventually those struts are gonna fail. We're looking at those U-bolts for the rear leaf springs. So all the patina is about the same. There's the spare tire. It's fairly flash rusted. I'd like to see the struts replaced, or at least paid attention to. As they age, that rust is going to creep up into the seals and they're going to fail. So going over to the right rear, the exhaust system is actually pretty rust free. The frame is what's got the coating. That's, again, you can kind of see right there you go. So kind of missing, it's kind of through the coating and starting to get onto the surface of the frame. But again, nothing is jumping out as immediately structural. We checked those little thin fins right there that attaches the body to the frame, and I'm not seeing any severe flaking or anything like that on those points either. So moving to the front, passenger, same deal. Checking the sway bar, rusted on this side too, but transmission's nice and dry, engine's dry. Going to the front, looks like that was professionally installed. Checking control arms, same deal. So really the condition of the rust on the vehicle is really pretty much consistent all the way from front to back. Nothing is into the structure, but it is all present, and if it could rust, it is. Now everything under this vehicle is quite thick. The metal is very thick metal. So where the rust is, it's also very thick. So I'm gonna go ahead and give I'm not gonna outright fail the underbody of this vehicle. I do want it I do want it monitored. I want that documented that there is a significant amount of rust under here. I'm not going to mark it as structural at this point. Thank you. Okay, this is the interior inspection of the 2013 Chevy Silverado. Right away, you don't see these very much anymore. It's really nice to see the B door, the back seat door. You know, you call it another time, you call it a suicide door right here. It's really nice to see this be able to open up on both sides all the way through. It lets me inspect the interior easily. All the seat functionalities work on driver's side. Driver's information system comes back clean and clear. Driver, we would call it infotainment on a newer vehicle. We don't have that here. All the driver facing controls for the HVAC and radio work just fine. All the windows roll down. All the lighting appears to work just fine. No real signs of neglect in this interior or abuse that I can see. This is pretty normal, straightforward seat issues with, especially with that Chevy leather, that GM leather. I would call this completely normal. It looks like there might have been a little bit of an attempt at a repair at a point in time in the past. Same with some of the vinyl patching up here. But that's just normal wear and tear from age. Let's zoom back out. I am going to go ahead and give the interior a pass at this time. Nothing of immediate concern is jumping out at me. Thank you. This is the tailgate rear truck bed inspection. So whole thing's been rhino lined. Can be good or bad depending on who you talk to. I certainly don't mind it. It looks like it was very professionally done. It's quite thick. This urethane coating is quite thick. It looks like there was a cargo rack that was installed up here with those rails. The rails are pretty well rusted. You know, they're not gonna be anywhere near the quality of a factory frame or anything like that. So those guys are pretty well rusted. I wouldn't trust those at this point in time. I'd replace those. But this component seems like if you just gave it a good cleaning and a spray, it could be reattached to the roof. No concerns with the canopy here. It looks like it's well attached, no concerns. You can see some pretty fair amount of oxidation on these clamps over here. Again, salty environment. This vehicle had to have lived its life as maybe a wintertime use only vehicle, or just it's been a significant amount of its time out in the winter doing winter type things. But otherwise, I don't see any damage or neglect in here. Nothing's eaten through the urethane. Nothing's jumping back at me saying there's any cause for concern. The glass isn't broken. Everything appears to work back here. So I'm going to go ahead and give the truck bed a pass. Thank you. Okay, this is the code scan portion of the video. I'll tell you right away, it came back pretty clean. We'll talk about what we did see. I went into the engine module right here. We see some engine code, fuel pump code. At first glance, you'd go, oh no, what does this mean? Well, let's talk about it. So you got engine code, P0513. It's a historical code. Theft deterrent key incorrect. So do we have a mismatch with the transponder key? The truck started fine. So the historical key does not affect the operation of the vehicle. The check engine light's not on. So this stores it as a powertrain code, but the computer on the dash is not upset. There's no check engine lights. There's no Christmas tree going on up here, and the vehicle started and cranked with no concerns. Is this intermittent? I couldn't confirm that, but it is storing it as a historical code. So I'm not going to mark this as a concern right now. Another one, let's see, invalid serial data received from transmission. Again, historical code. Transmission shifted and drove fine. I romped on it full throttle multiple times. Did heavy pulls on this vehicle. That's part of the stress test for the powertrain. No concerns came back. We're going to go down to right front wheel speed sensor circuit. Same deal, historical. Well, if the right front wheel speed sensor was bad, we wouldn't have ABS. We wouldn't have traction control. The whole dash would be lit up because it would be disabled because the sensor wouldn't be able to pull data for the ABS system, the traction control system to work. So the dash will be lit up. So likewise, we see historical code, so I'm not going to worry about that. So there's nothing in here that is leading me to believe that there's any sort of major circuitry or computer problems with this vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead and give the code scan portion of the video a pass at this time. Thank you. Okay, this is the conclusions video of the 2013 Chevy Silverado. So the major factor here is going to be the rust. There's again, the phrase for this is significant but not severe. So we're already seeing that the coating is starting to come off, that this vehicle was either coated from factory, which they are, or it was coated aftermarket. It's starting to come off. There's flakes on the differential cover. All the metal where it's rusted is very thick metal. So do I like to see it? No. Am I immediately concerned about it? No. Because it is what it is. It's a 15-year-old truck that does appear to have lived its life largely in a winter environment. Cosmetically, the truck comes back with minor issues. The powertrain, no concerns there. It performed as it should. I was very not gentle with the vehicle in terms of stress testing it. and the 4-wheel drive system works perfectly. It locks up high, low, no concerns there. So as a whole, I am going to go ahead and give this vehicle a pass. I'd like the rust to be, keep an eye on the rust. If it starts eating into certain componentry, the first places you're going to be concerned about are suspension. So keep an eye on the suspension. If you start hearing creaks or groans, get it addressed. A frame can go very, very long before the rust really gets to the point where it's not salvageable, or you can't repair it, or the vehicle becomes not roadworthy. But you will start seeing it get into the suspension. Now again, that being said, the leaf springs look fine, the struts don't. So it's kind of an odd combination here of the things that you really be worried about, like actual springs, like we can see up in there, actual springs and leaf springs and struts and frame and differential are all very rusted. But if you had to kind of put rust somewhere, that's where you'd want it to go. So thank you very much.